What's up, everybody? Thanks for watching another episode on Design to Heal. And I have my friend and colleague Joe here, and I'm super excited that we're going to actually talk
Yeah.
publicly together because we have lots of little conversations all the time. And
hmm
we are going to talk about some cool topics today. So thanks for coming. Why don't you
Yeah.
maybe tell people a little bit like who you are if they don't know who you are in this space
Yeah.
and how we maybe kind of started working together a little bit.
Yeah. I'm happy that we could connect on this. Honestly, I think it's been a great relationship between us. And as you know, we've worked together on design stuff. Some of you guys may know I started another company or Instagram account and all of that social called The Healing Dudes with my buddy Josh. And now I'm kind of doing some of my own stuff. Launched a new sort of a brand and initiative called Heel Flip on my own YouTube channel. So that's what this will be on. But yeah, I myself have dealt with chronic illness on and off over 20 years now, completely bedridden sick at times, also completely in remission and healed. And I've experienced the ups and downs of chronic Lyme disease and all of the different associated illnesses with that, and learned how to navigate it, and learn how to, thrive through it. And that's when, after the last time I sort of relapsed after getting COVID, long COVID, whatever you want to call it, started the Healing Dudes with Josh, and now we're here. Now we're here. That's been like a few years ago, so I've obviously significantly healed since then. I still deal with, symptoms from time to time and ups and downs, but I live a completely normal life. Obviously we work together on design stuff with the design revenue. And then I do my own thing. I work with clients one on one, and then in group coaching with my program called Heal Club, which is kind of like my community coaching program. And so yeah, I'm pretty busy, just living a normal life. But I'm always loving to share my journey and to help other people that are struggling with a chronic illness. So thanks for having me on here, and
Yeah.
I'm glad we could collaborate on this.
Yeah,
Thanks.
definitely. And I know
Yeah.
like, just from getting to know you over the last year or so, like a huge part of your healing and what you teach and help other people is acceptance
Yeah.
of symptoms and stuff. So like,
hmm
yeah, maybe you can touch on that a little bit, just sort of like what's been the way out for you when you've had chronic symptoms to
Yeah.
getting better.
Yeah. I think this is probably one of the most important topics when it comes to healing. I know that you would feel the same way, honestly, and that's what we connect a lot about. So, I'm gonna go I want to get your opinion on this too, but I'm gonna go back to when I first got sick in 2005, and then tried all these different treatments for multiple years. And then I kind of stumbled upon some psychology books on acceptance and commitment therapy, and I read also books on presence and surrender and things like that through Eckhart Tolle and some of these like spiritual teachers. I did not know anything about the nervous system. I did not know anything about the brain, brain retraining, neuroplasticity. I love that those topics are out here now, and I teach a lot of that. But I came across books on acceptance and commitment therapy, and I believe that that is the biggest thing that helps me heal. So, you know, when I was struggling with a chronic illness, I was constantly trying to focus on it and fix it and like figure out what is going on. Is it Lyme disease? Is it this? Is it that? Is it co-infections? Do I have parasites? Oh, wait, I need to address retroviruses. And it was like this constant madness that I was going through of like trying to fix, focus, and figure it out. And then there was like a couple shifts that happened in my life. I started asking sort of introspective questions of like, yo, what's going on? There's something that obviously what I'm doing is not working. So, there's something that is misaligned. And then I came across some of Joe Dispenza's work. And then I came across that like sort of psychology book. And then I kind of all morphed and meshed everything together that I learned, including some of the brain retraining and nervous system work, and it got me better. It got me better. But I honestly think the biggest thing was acceptance, surrender, letting go of control was one of the biggest keys for me to actually heal. And it's like I teach it a ton. It's like a ton of what I teach with clients and in my class is acceptance, letting go. And it's one of the biggest paradoxes of healing that people don't understand. They think I gotta fix it and kind of like, we can get into this. I want to hear your opinion too, but like, you know, even in the world of like brain retraining, nervous system work, there's a lot of people that unintentionally fall into the fix it category, even if they're not meaning to do it. It's like they go
Mhm.
from, trying to heal through supplements, you know, protocols, doctors, and then they come across, a lot of what we teach and what we've learned. And instead of doing it through the lens of acceptance, surrender, they do it in the same, realm of healing of like, oh, this makes sense. I want to do this. And then they go from fix and focus in that way of like the old way to now fix and focus, but do it through EFT tapping or somatics or, visualization or brain retraining or any of
Yeah.
these other things. And it's just the same lens that doesn't help heal. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too,
Yeah, I mean,
Whitney.
what I kind of I think a good way to sort of summarize what you're saying with using supplements and all these other protocols to try to fix to now using tools and brain retraining and even using the methodology of acceptance and surrender
Yes.
and letting go with that energy, with that intensity. Now I'm using this to fix myself.
Mhm.
It's 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 not going to work
Yeah.
because you're not actually surrendering and letting go
Yeah.
because you're now weaponizing the idea of letting go, like, you're using it,
Yeah.
and I love that that's what you're about
Yeah.
because it's so in line with what I've learned on my own
Mhm.
journey too, and my own experience of getting caught up in some of the, practices and using them in that way desperately, like, trying
Yeah.
to fix and trying to heal, and, and that, this channel, like, is a huge reason why the name of it is Designed to Heal
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we
I love
are,
it.
like, if we can get out of the way, like,
Yeah.
if we can just let go and surrender, which is really hard, like, it's very, it can feel impossible in the beginning, but it is a practice, like, it's something you have to kind of build as a skill set over and over with through time is accepting, and I understand it's so hard because it's almost like you're asking people to accept the unimaginable worst of the worst thing,
That's not
which
it
is
either.
suffering, right? But part of the suffering is that you're resisting it. Part of
Yeah.
this big part of the suffering. It's a huge part of the suffering, actually. I think that's what creates
Mhm.
the suffering more than
Mhm.
anything is the fighting it and the
Yeah.
battle and the pressure of needing to fix it and the relationship pressures and the financial pressures, which kind of like,
Mhm.
brings into this other topic that I think is a great one for us to talk about is how how do you navigate that? Like, how can you accept
Yeah.
how you feel when and just let go of getting better and healing and just kind of trusting your body and trusting that you're okay and sort of accepting everything that you're feeling? How do you do
Yeah.
that when it's keeping you from things that you need to do, like you need
Yeah.
to work or you need to parent or you need like
Yeah.
how do you do that? And so I think that's part of what makes it so hard to accept because it feels like this huge barrier to all these things that you need to be showing up for.
Yeah. It could go in so many different areas. What you just said, there's so much like little nuggets in there that I can expand on. The first thing I want to say is like, it's you had alluded to it. Like a lot of people know what acceptance is, but it's another thing to actually practice it. It's
Yeah.
like the knowledge and wisdom are the two different things. Like a lot of people are like, I'm practicing acceptance, telling themselves they're doing that, but they really aren't. They're still holding on, fighting, fixing. And I was there too. I mean, it's part of it. Like,
Oh,
so
yeah.
yeah, it's part of you. We
Nobody
fail.
starts out learning about
Yeah.
acceptance or like allowing things and then they're just like A plus, I passed, I
Yeah.
did it right away. Like it is a very well, I mean, I think that that's what got us ill to begin with is
Yeah.
we don't have that skill set of like surrender and letting go and not
Mhm.
just getting super tangled up in
Yeah.
stress and in our life,
Yeah.
and in
Yeah,
our
exactly.
emotions.
And that's a big part of practicing acceptance is failing at it because that's part of like you just said, that's part of the reason why we all get sick is type A personality, whatever you want to call it, control freaks, perfectionists, people pleasers, whatever. A lot of us have that. We focus, we're very deep thinkers. We also
Mhm.
focus on negative outcomes and all of that, thinking that that's going to be what, is it's like a self-protective mechanism. It's been talked about for ages about the brain. It's got that like negativity bias, and it's always constantly trying to focus and worry about the worst case scenario just so that we can prepare for it. But that
Right.
never is helpful. That just leads to more cortisol, stress hormones, and all of that. And I think for everyone that gets to that place of being able to accept, surrender, allow symptoms, it comes with a ton of failure, of trying to control, of trying to fix, of trying all of the different methods until it's like finally like that ultimate surrender. You're just like, all right, I've tried all these things. Obviously, it doesn't work. The last thing I can do, and this is how I got there, is do the opposite. I'm done.
Mhm.
I'm done fighting against what is, and it's just like almost just like laying your sword down. And it doesn't mean it's easy, and it's like it's a continual thing. The term is of
Mhm.
acceptance, but it's more accepting and allowing. So like the
Mhm.
consistent practice, you know,
Mhm. Yeah.
because you can't just do it once. It's
Yeah, no, you
you
can't.
know,
And for me, I think first I had to identify and see where I was not doing
yeah,
that and
mhm,
where I was having resistance. In the beginning, I really had to, the first thing I had to accept was that I couldn't accept
yeah, yeah,
because you have to start somewhere.
yeah,
And it felt almost at times too hard to accept this is how I feel. This is my life now. This is what I'm dealing with. These are the cards I've been dealt. Like it felt like the
yeah,
symptoms, the sensations, it just felt like, how can I accept something so horrible? I at least need to zoom out and accept that I'm resisting it and I'm having a hard time accepting. So let me accept where I'm at, which is that I can't accept. And that kind of like got the ball rolling for
yeah,
me. And the other thing was one day somebody asked me a very hard question, but it was like a turning point and it
mhm,
got me thinking differently. And I still
yeah,
feel like this is one of the most important questions I've ever had any person ask me on my recovery journey. And it was, like I said, it was a very difficult question. But the
yeah.
question was, what are you going to do if this never goes away?
I love this. This is
And I
I
was
knew this was
like,
a
oh
question, yeah.
my God. Like,
Yeah,
the first thought was like, "Ah," like, it's scary because then you're
yeah,
like, "I don't even
yeah,
wanna think about that. That is the worst thing you could ever ask me to think
mm,
about. How dare you?" Like, "That's
yeah,
terrible," you know?
yeah,
And then I
yeah,
realized it was, like, the most brilliant thing somebody could have
yeah,
asked me because I had to really think about that answer, and I had to contend with it, and it was like,
yeah,
"Okay, if I have this symptom or these symptoms for the rest of my life, what am I gonna do?" And the
yeah,
answer for me was I'm gonna make my life as meaningful as I can while I feel like
absolutely. I
this.
love that.
And
Yeah,
my focus now shifted from I need to get better so that I can have a meaningful life to
yeah,
I need to have a meaningful life. And when
yeah,
you start focusing on having a meaningful life, you start to heal
exactly.
because
It's so
it's
true.
this paradox of I won't be happy until I get better. No, you get happy to get better. And you start focusing on the things that are going to give you meaning and purpose and make your life feel full. I'm still healing, I'm still recovering. And I know sometimes you still get
Yeah,
symptoms popping up in here. But would I say my life has a lot of meaning and purpose? Absolutely. I
yeah,
am a mom. I am running a successful business. I have really rich, important relationships in my life that are just like
yeah,
so fulfilling for me. I have family, like I get out in nature. I have a lot of laughter. Are there things I wish I could do more of? Or am I, sure. But like,
yeah,
that's not how I think now
yeah,
because of that whole acceptance piece, like accepting
Yeah.
where I am and how my life is now. It's like, well, what am I going to do with that? And what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And it shifted me out of focusing on healing and which that's the paradox. It shifted me out of focusing on
Yeah.
healing to focusing on my life, which is inevitably what is healing.
Exactly.
Because we are designed to heal if
Yeah.
we are in the right conditions. Like,
Yeah.
it's just giving your nervous system the right conditions so that it regulates on its own. You don't have to
Yeah.
be controlling it like that.
Yeah. So true. Completely agree. And I want to go back to that question that someone asked you. That was the question that I asked myself. So this was probably back in, I want to say 2009. So this was I had already started practicing some of the nervous system work that I didn't even know what I was doing. I was just kind of following some YouTube videos and came across some books that were really helpful when it came to like mental health, physical health, and so I started following some of these things, right? And it was kind of making a little bit of a shift, but nothing was really moving that well.
Mhm.
I was still stuck in this state of perpetual, like basically being glued to my couch, bed, not really leaving my house, not really seeing friends, not really doing anything meaningful in life. And I had an epiphany, kind of like you. No one asked me the question, but I asked myself this because, like I said, I was getting introspective, and I wrote about this in my book. It's in my book. It was one of the biggest shifts. It was like, if I never heal, if these symptoms don't go away, am I happy with living the way that I've been living? Am I happy with living this way? And the instant answer was no, was no.
Mhm.
So, and it was an empowering question that I asked myself. Like you said, it's dark. It's like, shit, like, what if I don't get better? Is this how it's going to be for the rest of my life? But it's super empowering because now it takes back the control that you've given away to the chronic illness, or that I gave away to the chronic illness. And I said, no, I'm not. So from that day forward, I started making peace with where I was at and taking steps forward in life in meaningful ways. And this goes into, again, this is where, it all comes back around to the acceptance and commitment piece of what I learned. Honestly, you may think differently, but this is what I will tell everyone. Everything that you've learned about nervous system work, brain retraining, throw it out. Read books on acceptance and commitment therapy, because that's what's ultimately going to get you to heal. So there's a lot of same practices within those nervous system, practices or somatics and brain retraining, but it asks you like, value based questions of like, okay, you're sick, you're struggling, you're dealing with anxiety, you're dealing with depression, you're dealing with depersonalization, whatever. Now, so you act on your values. So you
Yeah.
practice acceptance, like we talked about, and then the next piece, which is the commitment piece, which you were kind of alluding to, and I am too, is like, okay, well, so I'm where I am is where I am. I can't force myself to change. I can't focus on it to make it better, but I can start doing things in my life that are meaningful to me, which are acting on my values. So for me, it was like I hadn't gone to school, in 4 years. I hadn't worked a job in 4 years. I barely left the house. Start taking little steps forward in that direction of doing things that I wanted to do, even if I couldn't. Of things that used to bring me joy, even if I can't feel it now. And I'm
Mhm.
telling you, like, that is what helped me heal, made a full recovery from a chronic illness. It was not quick. It was, months and then years down the road. But when I did that, it was, a big shift. And this is what I always tell people, when you do it this way, you heal and you do not even realize you're healing because
Mhm.
you're not focused on healing. You're
Yeah.
focused on living, and that's what ultimately how the body heals. It's like kind of like that saying, like you can't watch a boiling pot that's boiling, whatever. I don't even know how the saying goes, but like
Yeah.
same deal. If like you're constantly like you do this like practice, say you do a visualization, and you're like it's like checking. Did it help me to feel better? Do I feel better after it? Or you do like a somatic
That's
practice and you're like,
weaponizing. That's
yeah,
weaponizing.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like you do a somatic practice and then it's like, "Oh, do I feel better after that or do I feel worse?" And that
No
never
different than
works.
taking a supplement. That's no
Yeah,
different than taking a
yeah,
pill. It's no different than the medical model that has failed you, which is
oh,
basically just throwing band-aid using things as band-aids to
yeah,
try to get relief in the moment. It never works. And you're
yeah,
right, like as you heal, you don't even realize. And I've heard this a lot from so many people, and I've experienced it myself, where one day you realize like there's a symptom that just like is gone, and you're like,
Yeah. Yeah.
oh, dang,
Yeah.
I haven't felt that in months. And I didn't even realize I haven't felt it when I was trying so hard to make
Yeah.
it go away.
Yeah, exactly.
And then when it did, I didn't even notice. Like
Uh-huh.
it's wild, but
Yeah.
it's all a preoccupation problem. That's how we get in the way of what's trying to just happen on its own, is by being so preoccupied with it. Um, it's
Mhm.
sending a message of like, this isn't safe, this is dangerous, and this is so important because you're so
Yeah.
focused on it that now none of your life is as important. None of these other things,
Mm.
and so it just makes it grow. It's like
Yeah.
where you put your attention is where where you will get more of it. So
Yeah.
that's why
So
it's so
true.
important to shift out of focusing on your symptoms and even focusing on healing.
Yeah.
Do you really wanna be do you wanna be somebody that's healing forever too? Like, don't
Yeah.
focus on
Yeah.
healing, just focus on your life. What do you want?
Uh,
You wanna get better? Focus on that. Not getting better, like, you know
yeah.
what I mean? Focus on just your life,
Yeah.
and don't focus on it. It's so hard, but don't focus on it to get better. Like,
Yeah.
don't go start working or doing this and then being like, "Are my symptoms gone yet? I'm living my
Yeah.
life. I'm
Yeah,
focusing on my life,"
exactly.
because now you're weaponizing your life, like,
Yeah.
to get better? And it's so
Yeah.
hard. It's so hard because 'cause we're so human and we
Yeah.
just wanna feel better, and so it's not, like, shaming anybody, and you're not even, like,
Mm.
failing if you're doing this. It's just you haven't learned yet how to
Yeah.
get really good at accepting, because then when you're
Yeah.
accepting, you're not trying to change it.
Yeah. I want to ask you a question about this and get your opinion too, because so when I make videos, whether it's with the healing dudes or, on my TikTok page or whatever, I talk a ton about acceptance and surrender. And I get comments and sometimes hate on that. They're like, you don't know what you're talking about. How can I accept and surrender when I'm in so much pain every day, or I'm dealing with so many symptoms that are debilitating? And, I have an answer for this or whatever, but I want to also hear your experience because I
Mhm.
know you've dealt with it too. I mean, and both of us, it's like we had to start from there where it's,
Yeah.
getting punched in the face with symptoms all throughout the day. It's like no break from them. But this is where you start from sometimes. But a lot of people will have this like
Mm.
reaction and it angers them and it triggers
Yeah.
them. And they're like, how dare you say that you can heal through this? And I'm like, because I'm living proof of it, and I've also
Right.
seen
Yeah, yeah,
hundreds
yeah.
of people, but, like, I wanna hear your
Yeah.
your opinion on this because
Yeah. Well,
you
first
yeah,
off, I'll say, like, I've seen those kinds of responses as well,
yeah,
and, I mean, even recently, I had a YouTube video up on the Mindful Gardener channel talking
yeah,
about my withdrawal coming off of an
yeah,
SSRI and a benzo cold turkey, and I still worked. I still ran my business
uh-huh,
while I was the worst of the worst
yeah,
could possibly be, and people are like, "Well, you must not have been that bad. How did you do
yeah,
that?" And they instantly think, people will instantly think like, "Well, I just must have it worse. I must have it worse." But the thing is, like, first of all, that's a story, but and
yeah,
it's a belief. But second of all, Joe and I both have been so unwell
yeah,
that we were bedridden. We
yeah,
both have been so unwell that lifting a fork to your mouth to eat food felt
yeah,
like climbing a mountain.
yeah,
And so that's just why
yeah,
you have to trust us, because it does feel impossible. But,
yeah,
you know, um, I think what can be hard when people hear about acceptance is, and being told like, "Hey, you gotta start, working on accepting," is it does feel impossible at first, and it can feel invalidating. And I think it's easy to just instantly dismiss the credibility of the person saying that, because you're like, because it feels so
yeah,
impossible when you're in that place. I couldn't do it either. To
yeah,
me, that felt impossible too.
yeah,
And like I said, what it started with was the first step was accepting that I couldn't.
yeah,
Accept that you are saying that feels impossible. I
yeah,
don't know how you could do that. Okay. You need to accept that you can't accept. First, you just need to accept that. And
yeah,
then you need to, like, it's like start, for me, I had to start asking, I had that question of like, but what if I don't heal? What am I
Yeah.
gonna do? What am I gonna do? And it's
Yeah.
like, well, I can keep working, challenging, but it's also something that's important to me.
Mhm.
It gives me purpose. I can keep trying to make an impact in this world with my work. I can keep showing up as best as I can for my daughter and
Yeah.
still be on this planet and still just love her.
Yeah.
That's important. Like,
Yeah.
there's just, I had to start like listing my values. What matters to me?
Yeah.
Love,
Yeah.
relationships, connection,
Yeah.
having little pockets of memories that I'm making that I can look back on in my life and be like, "Hey, I was present for that," like, in
Yeah.
some way, you know?
Mhm.
And I had to accept that there were gonna be times where I couldn't be present and I was gonna be really unwell,
Yeah.
and that that's okay too. Like, that doesn't mean that my life is over
Yeah.
or it can't be meaningful. It just means in that moment or in that day or in that week, I'm maybe not, as present and I'm needing a little bit more gentleness. But
Yeah.
um yeah, so that's kind of how it started for me. And then I also had to start very small. And this is what's like really started to change things for me too. It's sort of this kind of practice of like somatic tracking, which is really an exercise of
Mhm.
allowing,
Yeah.
which is just if this feels so hard, because I think like when you first think about acceptance, you're just like, oh my gosh, it feels like this giant,
Yeah.
huge thing you have to accept. And so what you need to do is you need to like break it down and you need to
Yeah.
get to where it's like very small. And right now you're just accepting this moment. Like
Yep.
right now, I'm just allowing these sensations, even if it's just for 2 minutes. Can I practice for 2 minutes?
Yep.
Just looking at what's going on in my body, dropping into it, and being like, I can let this be here.
Yeah.
Can I
That's
just
it.
do that for 2 minutes? And in the beginning, no. It was like,
Yeah.
"No, I can't. No, I cannot possibly, like, hit this with neutrality and look at it, observing it like it's
Yeah.
just this sensation and it's not something that I'm, like, all emotionally wrapped up in." Like, at first I couldn't, but the
Yeah.
more I kept practicing that, it was like I grew that skill, and
Mhm.
I'm still growing that skill.
Yeah.
Like, there's
A
still certain
lifelong
things that I
practice.
have a harder time allowing, and
Yeah.
then there's things that I can allow, and I
Yeah.
know, like, I've seen it enough times myself now in my own healing, like, when I have been able to really just accept and allow a certain sensation and lean into it and just be like, "You can be here. I'm totally okay with that." Like, I authentically feel that way. I can tell when I authentically feel that way now,
Yeah.
and I can tell when I'm pretending. Like,
Yeah.
you'll start to see the difference, because
Mhm.
that still happens for me. Sometimes I'm really like, kinda almost trying too hard, and I'm not able to get there, and that's when I have to tell myself, "'Kay, now we just need to accept that we can't accept."
Yeah.
'Cause I can't right
Exactly.
now. And
Yeah.
now at least I'm accepting something, and it's almost like you look at, like, that game Jenga, and it's, like, all these, like, things stacked. Well, when you can accept that you are n resisting,
Yeah.
it kinda, like, pulls one of the tiles out, and the whole thing starts to crumble, and then you can
Yeah.
start accepting, like, other things.
Mhm.
So that's been really helpful for me. When I can't accept, I need to accept that I can't
Yeah.
accept, and then everything starts moving. So but small doses, But when I have
Yeah.
authentically been able to really accept and allow things on their own without me having any agenda shift pretty rapidly.
You do. When you
And
truly
it was
embody it.
because I wasn't trying to shift them.
Yeah.
I just learned how to
Yeah.
step aside and
Yeah.
trust and be okay with it. And then it was like it just did it all on its own. And my
Yeah.
nervous is like, I don't know. Like the body did what the body wants to be doing anyway. I just wasn't interfering anymore.
Yeah, I've had actually almost go the opposite way. So sometimes, because I mean, acceptance, allowing the symptoms, it's one of the hardest things that we have to do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally like, you know, a challenge, a practice of that's feels impossible, that can trickle out through all areas of our life and make a meaningful life better in so many ways. But it's one of the hardest practices. I mean, spiritual teachers and people thousands of years, have preached about surrender and leaning into the present moment and struggle and all of that stuff and not trying to force and control. I mean, it's in spiritual practices for thousands of years. We're trying to do it with uncomfortable, symptoms that feel like you're being tortured or in hell sometimes, and it's really hard. So it really takes, it's a practice. It's a skill like anything like that we do, like riding a bike or whatever. It's not, you're gonna fail. I tell people you're gonna fail, but we try to, I even hate to say the word try, but we try to, practice it and allow things. It's so hard to like even put into words because
Yeah.
sometimes when you think about it, it can go you can accidentally get yourself into resistance because now you're in the brain. And what I always tell people is acceptance, allowing is in the body. It's in the present
Mhm.
moment. It's out of the head. It's out of the mind.
Yeah.
So you can't even like articulate it, you know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah,
So
no, you embody it.
yeah,
It's like a felt sense. It's
it's a
like
felt sense.
yeah,
And
and I think that's why they also call it, like, radical acceptance
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
it is a very
I still go through struggles, not as many like heavy symptomatic days, especially not as bad as I was in the past, but still sometimes things come up. Stress, stress in life causes, a flare up in symptoms, and now you're in this trying to fix and control and all of this stuff. And I can still get caught up in that from time to time where I'm like, it may not be necessarily directly related to symptoms in my illness, but it causes flare-ups in my illness because I'm resisting what is, whether it be,
mhm.
relationship stress, financial stress, you know, something that happened in life that was out of my control, and now it causes this loop of getting in my head trying to fix and figure it out and all that stuff. And one of the best practices for acceptance is coming back to the present moment. Coming
Mhm.
back to the present moment. And the way I do this often is getting the hell out of my house, getting into nature, disconnecting from technology, observing externally, whether that be, kind of like the felt sense sometimes it is doing. If you want to call them somatic practices, fine. I don't care, but like that's not what it's
Yeah.
just being in the
It's
pre
almost like we don't even need all these, like, mumbo like, all the terminology
Yeah.
and everything, like, it's gotten so overcomplicated in this
Yeah.
space. Like, it really has, unfortunately. We've
Yeah.
almost medicalized it now
Yeah.
in a way, and it's just getting back to, like,
Yeah.
basic human stuff, you know? Sunlight, nature, laughter, connection, just things that we're meant to be doing as human beings, you know?
Mhm.
It's like that whole saying about, like, humans are like plants. It's just we have more complicated emotions, but we need
Yeah.
water, we need sunlight, we need like we
Yeah.
just need the right environment and we will thrive,
Yeah.
if we but we get there's so many things that make it way more
Yeah.
complex with just culture and society and stress and expectations and repressing feelings and things like that and
Mhm.
people pleasing and all this stuff
Yeah.
like gets us here, but the way out of it is like yes, letting go, and you were saying earlier, like, with, you know, kinda that word, like, trying, and, you're like, "I hate to say
Yeah.
that word try."
Yeah.
Um, that was actually, like, another thing that I realized was really helpful for me and has continued to be helpful for me is I've been trying but now I'm saying the word.
Yeah.
I've been practicing
Yeah,
not
that's it.
using the word try and use the word
Yeah.
practice because
Yeah.
try feels like effort and
Yeah,
it
I know.
feels like there's a risk of failure too. If you
Yeah.
try and you don't succeed, it's
Yeah.
like now you have to keep trying. And there's
Yeah.
something about that that I think kind of creates this pressure. And it almost feels to me like the opposite of actually what your
Yeah.
like goal is, which is to let go.
Mhm.
But like you can't try to let
Yeah.
go, you just let go.
You just
Like,
let
it's
go.
let go is the opposite energy of try.
Yeah.
It's truly surrender, and so if you're going to be attempting to surrender, then don't try to surrender, just practice
Yeah.
letting go
Yeah. I
of
love that.
the agenda, and I always see that, like, people will message me all the time and say, "I'm trying so hard to allow. I'm really trying. I'm trying to allow my feelings.
Yeah.
I'm trying to accept where I'm at. I'm trying to allow this sensation." And as soon as they say that, I'm like,
Yeah,
I
that's the problem.
instantly see why that's you're feeling stuck because you're
Yeah.
trying.
Yeah.
And I get it. Like
Mhm.
it's nobody's fault. Like if you
Yeah.
use that word, like so did I. I still just almost did. Like it's just I mean, that's life. Like you're trying to, you know, get a degree, you're trying to get a job, you're trying to get healthy, you're trying that's it's
Mhm.
we're in this culture of go, 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 achieve, achieve, achieve. And it's just this word that has become almost, I don't know, I don't think it's helpful. So I've
Yeah,
tried to remove it when I can remember. Like if I'm going to be doing something that feels really challenging and I know that I'm doing some kind of an exposure or something that is going to
yeah,
like really heighten things for me, then I'm like, okay, instead of saying I'm going to try to allow this and get through it and accept whatever comes my way and whatever my body and my nervous system want to do, I'm going to try to allow that. No, it's
mhm.
like, I'm going to practice. This is an
Just
opportunity
practice.
for me to practice. And it takes the pressure off because then if I don't
Yeah, it's
do
okay.
a great job at it, that's okay
Yeah,
because I was just
yeah,
practicing and
yeah,
I don't have to be perfect
yep,
and I can practice again, another time. It's
yeah,
okay. Like, and then I can again just accept that I didn't maybe do a great job that time, and
yeah,
that's all right. I can
yeah,
accept that I couldn't allow, and we will, attempt this again next time there's an
yeah,
opportunity. And that's it. Like, I
yeah,
think we just still like kind of what you were saying earlier, people start to weaponize even the
yeah,
accepting piece, and this is how you end up weaponizing it is by trying
mhm,
and getting all worked up when you can't, and
yeah,
that's just more of a, like that energy of like intensity and gripping and not
yeah,
truly surrendering. So it is a practice. You don't have
so
to
true.
become like a Buddha, but you do
Yeah,
need to like,
yeah,
bring this into your life more and more and pause and
yeah,
notice, what's going on. Okay,
yeah,
ooh, my body's talking. Okay, I'm listening. Let me allow maybe some
yep,
emotions that are creating some of
yeah,
these sensations right now, or let me just allow the
yeah,
sensations. There's things that are happening because if you kind of keep redirecting,
yeah,
redirect,
yeah,
distract,
yeah,
distract, pattern, interrupt, all that
yeah,
stuff.
it
You
doesn't
keep
work
doing
for
all
me.
that stuff. Guess what? It's just gonna be like, and
Yeah, you're just
it's still building in there, and then it's gonna get so loud that then you're like, okay, well now I just have to accept it, and it's so
yeah,
loud that now you can't. So that's where it's like start listening
yeah,
to the subtle kind of
yeah,
messages that are starting to show up in your body like, ooh, like I noticed this,
yeah,
today I woke up and I'm kind of like I worked a really long day yesterday and I don't
yeah,
normally do that, but I just had a lot I wanted to do and I was having fun doing it, but it was also a lot of work. And I noticed like I wasn't sleeping as great last night and I woke up this morning feeling kind of off and I'm like, okay, okay, instead of, ooh, let me
yeah,
redirect, let me interrupt this, let me focus on something and just ignore it. And like,
yeah,
I got to go live my life and make sure I'm not paying attention to it. And didn't know it was like,
yeah,
I'm going to drop in and I'm going to
yeah,
like allow this for, 10 minutes. And that's what I
yeah,
did this morning. It was just like, I went into my body and I just got present with it. And I'm like, hey, you can be here. I get it.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
there's a reason this is coming up right now. I'm
yeah,
probably a little bit out of alignment with some balance. There's some threat
mhm,
being detected or something with like how much pressure maybe I'm putting on myself right now. All right, let me just accept where I'm at, and
yeah,
slow down.
yeah,
And like kind of like you just go outside, you go sit in nature.
yeah,
Like, you know, it's just, yeah, I kind of need to let go right now a little bit. I need to let
yeah,
go of all these goals I have today. And I kind of need to let go of,
yeah,
because right now I'm getting heightened. I'm
yeah,
getting activated. And I'm going to listen now before this turns into like something that is going to take me down.
yeah. And that's the deal with all of this is like giving yourself grace and patience as
Yeah.
you navigate this journey. Because like you said, there's a lot of people that I work with and people in my class who are like, I'm trying. So, and I'm just like, that's your problem, dude. Like, you're
Yeah.
trying so hard to like master all of this stuff. And what you need to do is just embrace the journey. Give yourself some grace. There are going to be failures. Do your best today. It's like it's the consistency, it's the consistent practice of this, you know, that makes the big difference in the long run. Everyone's so in a rush to get better, to have
Yeah.
this perfect, practice of acceptance and allowing and getting to that destination of end goal of like, wow, I mastered it. It's like, first of all, you're never going to master it. I don't like, again, I don't even think like Zen Buddhist monks really have mastered it. We all struggle with it. You just generally get better at it, and you
Yeah.
generally understand where you're kind of having some resistance, and then you slowly lean into allowing, accepting, and gentle redirection. I feel like we could do another video on
Yeah.
all of the, because you talked about like,
We need to talk about the redirect
yeah,
topic for
yeah,
a little
like
while and
that's
what that
another video.
really looks like in a healthy
Yeah,
way, what that really means.
yeah, because yeah,
Yeah,
that's
big
such
one.
a That's such a
Yeah.
misconception in this community of like brain retraining and all that leads to
Mhm.
unhealthy behaviors and patterns that keep people stuck.
Mhm.
I feel like we can do the next video on that, because I could
Yeah.
literally talk another hour just about that.
Oh, me too.
Yeah,
For sure.
exactly, because it's just not helpful. But in terms of like acceptance, surrender, and everything like that, like I said, you have to give yourself grace, patience. The
Yep.
harsh criticism that a lot of people, have that are in the space of chronic illness, needs to be eased, and this is
Yep.
where acceptance and surrender coexist, and all of that is with like, okay, I can give myself some grace, some
Mhm.
patience as I
Mhm.
practice this, because it is a challenge. Like we're not saying that this is easy. This is, like I said, one of the hardest things to learn in life, I believe, is acceptance, surrender, allowing symptoms when they're smacking you in the face, and just in general in life, like
Mhm.
practicing surrender. That's why there's like a million books on, radical acceptance and surrender and all those, because it's one of the hardest yet most rewarding practices in the world, regardless if you're dealing with a chronic illness. It's just everyone struggles. We're all control freaks. We all want to force and fix and focus on stuff, even if we're not struggling with a chronic illness. But, now you're struggling with intense symptoms of chronic illness. It kind of can make it harder, but it also is part of what makes it, easier, because now you have no other choice. How I learned acceptance and how I learned to heal was I had no other choice. I tried everything else. I tried focusing and fixing. I tried all the redirect. I tried, all
That's
this.
usually what happens. That seems to be the common trajectory is the way you get here is by the process of elimination of everything that doesn't work. And
Exactly.
then you ultimately get to where you have to contend with that question of what if it doesn't work?
Yeah.
And then you have to start moving into acceptance. And then now you can actually
Yeah.
really move towards healing and getting out of the way.
Uh-huh.
And one of my favorite experts in this space and teachers and people of just ever, like, just
Yeah.
adore is Alan Gordon,
Yeah. Yeah.
because one of the things that he says is, "Lighten up."
Yeah.
Like,
Seriously.
it's just and when you think about that at first, it can, maybe feel like, "How can I lighten up?"
Yeah.
Again, there can
Yeah.
be resistance, but when you think about that phrase, "Lighten up," it's like that is such a great question to ask yourself throughout your day. How can I lighten up? How can
Yeah.
I? That's an
Mhm.
act of accepting and letting go and surrendering. So don't try, just how. How
Yeah.
can I lighten up? Like, okay,
Yeah.
my daughter is behaving in a way that's really stressful. How can I lighten up about this? Can I just
Yeah.
let it be? Do I
Yeah.
need to like get into an argument with her or can I
Yeah.
just move on? How
Mhm.
can I lighten up about if I'm driving and somebody cut me off in traffic? Can I
Yeah.
just lighten up? I mean,
Yeah.
all of that, like throughout your whole, not just with your symptoms, but
Yeah.
like the intensity doesn't work with healing.
Yeah.
Healing
It doesn't.
requires
Yeah.
ease, lightness, grace,
Yeah.
compassion,
Mhm.
kindness, love, floating, surrendering, letting go. Like it is
Mhm.
the opposite, all of that stuff, all of that intensity, all of that focus, all of that urgency, all of that fixing. That is what got us here. That is
Mhm.
what got us unwell. So
Yeah.
it's not going to get you out of it. It
It
just
is
won't.
not.
And, like,
Yeah.
if you're new to this journey and you're kind of at the beginning of it and you're finding, the mind body space, I mean, the journey is the journey. And sometimes you just have to go through it and you're going to have to learn the hard way because you're going to try everything. You're going to get,
Yeah.
sucked into all of these practices and tools and things that you're using as weapons. And that had to be my journey, I guess, for me too. Even with
Yeah.
everything I knew and learned, it was like I still had a period of time where I was just so desperate that I was
Yeah.
like, really in that place. But if I could say to somebody at the beginning of this process, like, to just learn how to focus, that's where your focus should be, is on how to stop focusing so
Yeah.
much. Like,
Yeah,
that's it.
exactly.
Like, just if
Yeah.
you had one thing, like,
Uh-huh.
that you could be doing
Yeah.
differently, it's like, how are you responding? And,
Well,
like, drop
yeah.
the intensity. And I think what makes it so hard too, when you tell somebody to stop trying so
Yeah.
hard, that feels really scary because
Mhm.
it feels like, well, then I'm not gonna get better.
Yeah.
But that is a lie.
That's the lie. That's the
And
paradox of healing.
it is. And if you don't believe it, fine. But at least, like, if you can just let yourself be scared for a second and
Yeah.
think about that for a minute, like
Yeah.
you did, like, get kind of a little introspective and like reflect. What does that lead to? The next question is, well, what is your fear? If I stop trying so hard, I won't get better. Okay, what if you don't get better?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
What are you
No, you're
gonna
not
do? You
gonna
know?
give up.
Yeah.
The answer is, how are you gonna make your life meaningful right now with how you're
Yeah.
feeling?
Yeah.
And then if the follow-up is, "I can't, there's no way I can make my life meaningful with how awful I feel." That's not true, that's a story. Yes, you
Yeah.
can. You
Exactly.
absolutely can. You just don't believe it yet. But, like,
Yeah.
watch what happens if you start really writing down your values and what you want in your life. Write yourself a letter,
Yeah.
describe the best life you could ever have, and then
Yeah.
you'll see what the values are, and just take those tiny steps, if you have to start
Mhm.
small, you know,
Yeah.
towards that. That's it,
And
you know?
and and sometimes that small thing is like, dude, I'm a big believer in like little acts of self-care for yourself throughout the day on this journey of dealing with a chronic illness, whether that's freaking putting on relaxing music in the background, and kind
Totally.
of like to lighten up. Like, what can you do
Yeah,
to like lighten up? Like relaxing music in the background, light some candles, like freaking get it smelling good,
totally. Oh my gosh,
set
I
a
do that
vibe in your
all the
place.
time now, and it's like I'm making myself I'm loving myself. I'm making my environment feel
Yeah,
more happy or calm or
yeah,
pleasant, and it's an act of love. It's like
yeah.
romanticizing yourself and your
Uh-huh.
life,
Yeah,
like, I do that every night. I light a
me
candle in my
too.
room as soon
Dude,
as I
I
get
have
in my room
candles
to
everywhere.
unwind. I light a candle that smells amazing. I
Yeah,
have my, like, fuzzy blanket, I listen to, like, happy or relaxing music, like, while
yeah,
I'm cooking. Like, I'm just
uh-huh,
kind of creating this environment in my home that is feels nice, like, it's
yeah,
just, and it makes me happy, like,
yeah.
it's like these little things that I'm doing for
It
myself that
makes
are
a
like
world of difference.
and it builds on itself, and you
Yeah,
realize, like, you're starting to really take good care of yourself,
yeah,
like, you're just
uh-huh,
loving yourself and you're lightening things up. It's
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So you can start there for those of you guys who have been made it through this far and you're struggling with accepting, allowing, like some of that is just lightening the mood in your current environment and space, putting
Yep.
some relaxing stuff, going out and just sitting in nature for a little while and being observant externally. Like you had mentioned, like some of the people are resistant to all this. And I've worked with a ton of people that are like, I've dealt with resistance to all of it. I've worked with a ton of people that are resistant and so many people that are struggling with nervous system dysregulation, chronic illness. And I'm like, okay, they're struggling. Okay, so today, the only thing I want you to do is just be present and honestly monitor your thoughts as best you can. You can't do it all throughout the day, but just like check. You don't even need to change them. Just see where you're at. Check in. Like where have I been thinking? What have I been thinking throughout the day? Check in routinely throughout the day. Make that your practice today. And what I've found and what a lot of people will find is that they're constantly in resistant thoughts, so it's constant. I can't handle this. I'm struggling with this. This is the worst. Oh
How long
no,
is this
what is
gonna
this?
last? I
How
want this
long is
to
this
go
going to last?
away.
what can I do to change this? And that's like our default. Like every one of us, even if we're not chronically ill, it's constant. What is wrong? What can I focus on and fix? So I just tell people like, take this morning or take this day. Literally, like I'm not gonna tell you to do like all these practices. I just want you to see where your mind is literally controlling a lot of the resistance. So just pay attention. You can't pay attention to your mind all day, but like check in. What have I been thinking more recently over the last hour or two? And then you'll
Mhm.
realize and you'll be like, holy shit, I'm constantly just thinking negatively. And then you can kind of almost just be lighten it up. Like you can almost be like, wow, my brain is like automatic negative default one, and then be like, give yourself some grace because this is your brain and this is a lot of people's brains. This is why this is hard work. So now just being aware of it, now you can, it's not the stop, stop, stop redirect. It's just gentle,
Mhm.
great. Give yourself some grace, gentle redirection, gentle lightening up your mood, gentle, like, what is something that can bring me some peace right now?
Mhm.
Can I just like allow this to be right now versus going into the negative? Because that's really what a lot of acceptance is just really getting out of your head and the negative, constant spiraling thoughts and the fears and worries. And it's not even that there's, like we've said in this, there's not really an action. It's more of a letting go of the things that are keeping you in resistance. The thoughts are
Yeah.
the main culprit. So if you become aware of them, that's like one of the biggest keys in
I was just
accepting
gonna say
wherever.
awareness is really the first actual
Yeah,
step, is, like, you have
yeah,
to be aware of the resistance of the that
yeah,
you're, yeah, that you're having all these negative thoughts around it and you're in your head. And like you said earlier, like, when you're in your head, you're not present. And
yeah,
so,
yeah,
you know, presence is part of the
yeah,
healing,
yeah,
that's getting out of the way. And I'm curious, as we kind of like wrap this up,
yeah,
like, one thing I want to ask you is, are there certain things like expressions or words or things that you say to yourself just in your mind,
yeah,
like, to
yeah.
help you accept? Because there's
Oh
certain
my
things I
God.
do that have like
Yeah,
really been helpful, and maybe we can share that, because it's kind
yeah.
of like just talking to yourself throughout the day. Like, what do you say to accept? Like,
Oh,
what are your
yeah.
things?
I love this because self-talk is so important on this journey, and the things that we tell ourselves, the stories that we tell ourselves through our words and things like that. Honestly, I'm going to get this tattooed on my arm. I still write it on my arm from time to time when I'm going through a rough period. This too shall pass. This too
Mhm.
shall pass. And
Yeah.
really recognizing that, like, yo, you're in a dark period, you're in a dark time right now, but it's not going to last forever. It may
Mhm,
feel like it, just
mhm,
reminding yourself, like, this is going to pass. This is temporary. Even if it feels like you've been in this for months, years, whatever, there's ups and downs through life. There's going to be good times that come again. So literally, this too shall pass is like my mantra, that has helped me immensely. And then also, this is maybe not something that I tell myself a ton, but something that I will tell myself from time to time. And one of the things that has helped me on my journey when I've been struggling with these severe symptoms, the chronic illness of Lyme disease and all of these things, this is not dangerous. This is not dangerous. Like these symptoms, although they feel like I'm in danger right now, they feel like it's the end of the world. I'm going to be stuck like this. It's not, they're not dangerous. A lot of them, most people have gotten checked out a million times over. Like all of the scans, all of the blood work, we know what we're dealing with is not life threatening in the moment. That lowers the pressure.
mhm.
And lastly, millions of people in the world are dealing with the exact same thing that you are dealing with right now, with what I've been dealing with. I told myself maybe it was a lie, but it was a story that helped me. But it is actually the truth. Millions of people are dealing with the exact same thing, whether it be the pain, the anxiety, the deep personalization, the vertigo, the chronic whatever symptoms, and millions of people have overcome them. So this kind of like lightens it. It's like, oh,
Yeah, it
it's like
normalizes it.
it
It
normalizes it. Like,
normalizes it, it doesn't make you feel like you're the worst case scenario, and I think when it normalizes it, I can see how that helps you accept it.
yeah. Yeah. It does.
Yeah.
It just lightens, we all think everything's the end of the world. Like, I'm worst case scenario. Oh, my symptoms are the worst thing. You don't know what I'm going through. It's like, actually, if you want to have that badge on your ego, fine, but it's not the truth. It's a story you're telling yourself. Even in the most hell that you're going through, you're not alone. Like, you're not alone. There are millions of people that have dealt with what you're dealing with and are probably dealing with it and have overcome it. So, you can too. You can absolutely, overcome this as well. And it just that also just feels like, wow, you know what? You're
Yeah.
right. Like, I'm not alone in this. Other people have gone through it. Me and Whitney
Yeah.
are two of people that have gone through some really dark times, and we're not special. Like, we're just a couple people
Just
talking
human
on it.
beings with
Yeah.
brains and nervous systems too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
What
that. I
about
love
you?
everything you said because I can see how all of those things lead to more acceptance. Like,
Yeah.
and when you're saying like you tell her, you remind yourself like what you're feeling isn't dangerous. Like, I can see how that also leads to acceptance because it's
Yeah.
hard to accept something if it feels like it's actually
Yeah.
dangerous and like life threatening. But if it's safe, then okay, we can accept it
Yeah.
a little easier now.
Yeah.
So I love that. Those are all things that I've also said to myself, and there's others like, I think, in some ways more so lately, like recently in the last
Yeah.
few months, there's been a little almost like, I don't know, maybe a little bit more like bold or like radical thing that I say to myself, which is when something is really loud or there's something really uncomfortable or whatever, even if it's a
Yeah.
life thing, not just in my body, but like, there's times where I'll just say to myself, like, especially if there's a symptom that's really loud or emotional, I'll just be like, do what you got to do.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
And it's like it's just like, "I'm out of the way." Like, "Do
Yeah,
what you gotta do."
what
Like,
you
"I'm
gotta
giving you
do.
permission, just do what you gotta
Yeah.
do because I can't make this go away right now. I can't control it, so do what you gotta do." And something about that helps me accept, like, it's just gonna run its course,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I can just trust that?
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
another thing that I say sometimes to myself is, like, I'll ask myself a question, and it's just to remind me again to not try or to not
Yeah.
get in the way. And so sometimes when something's really loud or really uncomfortable, I'll ask myself, "Well, what are you gonna do?"
Yeah.
And I kinda confront myself, like,
Yeah.
it's less. I used to do a lot of, like, and I'll still say this is safe, or I'll
Yeah.
still kind of
Yeah.
soothe myself, but now it's sort of more like, "Well, what are you gonna do?" And then when I
Yep.
ask myself that, it's like, it helps me instantly realize there's nothing I
There's
actually
nothing you
can
can
do.
do. Yeah, yeah.
So, I might as well stop this
Yeah. Yeah.
chatter
Yeah.
because that's not doing anything
Yeah.
anyway. And now the question becomes, or the answer becomes, yeah, this is here. I guess I might as well, like, I
Yeah.
don't know, call a friend or go on a walk or
Yeah.
go get some work done or watch a show or, whatever. Like, I might as well just go do something.
Yeah.
Like, else because
Yeah,
sitting here thinking
seriously.
about it, what am I gonna do? I might as well just I don't know, like, be present with something else as well, like, and bring this with me,
Yeah.
because and sometimes it's, "Well, today I'm gonna lay here.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna do."
Yeah.
Like, that's all I feel like I can do. So, okay,
Yeah.
and it is what it is. I better find, like, I don't know, a good book or a good show to binge,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
it. What are you gonna do? Like, and that also just takes some of the intensity out of it for me and sort of lowers some of the pressure and the
Yeah.
fixing, resistance
Yeah.
trap that we all fall into. Like, it helps me
Yeah.
stay out of that a bit and just kinda
Yeah.
like, all right, what you gonna do about that? I don't know, nothing? Okay,
Yeah.
great, nothing.
There's nothing we
Do
really
nothing.
can do. Yeah, we think we have
Yeah,
control, but we really have no control, and that realization, like, there's,
yeah. We can only influence, like, we can
yeah,
only provide the right environment
yeah,
for the
that's it.
body and the mind to come back into balance. That's all
Yep.
we need to do, just
Mhm.
provide it the right environment, give it,
True.
love, like it's a kid,
Exactly.
that's
It's true.
needing some help. That's it. So,
Yeah, I love that.
well, we could talk forever.
Yeah,
I'm
we
so
could.
glad that we did this, and
Me too, me too.
we'll definitely do more. And yeah,
Yeah,
there's so many things we could talk about for sure.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I love it.
he'll be back.
Yeah, I'll be back. Thanks for having me on. This has been
Yeah, thanks
great.
for coming
So,
on. It's
yeah,
fun. And we'll talk soon. And
talk
make sure
soon.
you guys subscribe if you want to get
Yep.
notified for new episodes. And have a great day. Go surrender and just
Yeah.
accept where you're at.